the possibility of, as you quite rightly said, for the supply vessel to actually contribute this would constitute it taking part in an illegal action. What are the chances of us actually making the Japanese realise the folly of their ways and issuing them with some kind of writ to substantiate that, to say, listen, you guys are breaking the law, and whether you want to admit it or not, this is a breach of legislation that's been passed. Will you accept that?
The problem is that Japan's a big economic bully. Right now the United States is putting economic pressure on Iceland to stop whaling, but at the same time supporting Japan's position. New Zealand and Australia on the surface condemn the Japanese whaling, but behind the scenes they're doing nothing to stop it. They're just sort of like trying to appease their own people and give the Japanese what they want. Last year, the day the Yadi Gill was cut in half by a Japanese vessel, the Australian embassy assured Japan on that very day, the exact words were, the Japanese would be absolved of any blame on this, before they even seen any of the evidence. So, Japan gets what it wants because Japan is a big buyer of resources, iron ore, wood chips, uranium, you name it. And so because of that, they get away with things that other people couldn't. The Australians come down and they arrest Uruguayans and Namibians for poaching in the Australian Antarctic Territory, but turn a blind eye to the Japanese. But the fact is that there's no difference between Japanese whale poachers in the Southern Ocean Whale Sanctuary and elephant poachers in Kenya, except that the elephant poachers are black, they're poor, and they get shot for what they're doing.
Yeah. But still, it still seems to boil down to that globally as well as locally, we seem to have adopted this principle of the economical situation is far more important than the environmental sustainability, and that's a very tragic corporate loss as well, because of course there's no long-term gain in that. However, this has all fallen on deaf ears, and as you rightly point out, the global situation is ever changing financially and in terms of instability militarily. To what extent does that affect public awareness of what you're doing, Paul? I mean, this is absolutely fantastic. This is the best news. The 7th campaign you've had out there, and the first, I believe, where you've been able to actually say there's been no bloodshed whatsoever. And of course you must have crew members who have homes in Australia that have just recently been lost with these floods. Where do we stand in terms of priority of news, Paul?
What we're doing out here is trying to enforce international conservation law. Sea Shepherd's not a protest organization. We're just trying to uphold the law. And the problem is that it is effective, but it really makes a lot of governments very angry. We now got the U.S. government, the Dutch government's on our case now because of Japanese complaints. If you actually make any progress, then that's when you start to feel the pressure to cease and desist. People don't mind the protesting, but if you actually get in, if you're actually effective, then they start to get worried. But I think that the problem is that our entire social, political, economic system is based on short-term vision, short-term investment for short-term gain. Nobody really looks at the big picture, and they're just trying to make as much money in the shortest possible time as possible. And back in 1992, Gro Harlem Brundtland, the Prime Minister of Norway, even coined this phrase, sustainability, sustainable. It's just another word for business as usual. Everything's sustainable now. But the fact is that we're violating the basic laws of ecology. There's simply not enough resources to continue to support an ever-escalating population, and we're in deep ecological trouble.
Yes, indeed. But at the same time, the campaign must go on, and as you quite rightly say, you're a group out there trying to enforce the law without the backup of the nations that actually should be supporting you.